Hello, hello. We're doing a live stream bake-along and we're making rich chocolate mousse today. So be sure to join. We'll just give everyone a second to log on. There's a few people who RSVP to our live stream here. We have at least one viewer. Hello. I'm going to see if I can share this while we wait for people. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to share this real quick. So we're making rich chocolate mousse, and then depending on how long that takes, it shouldn't take too long. Might do some chantilly cream as well as like another layer to this mousse. Okay. If you guys are able to share, that'd be great too. Okay. Hey guys. Who is watching right now? There's at least one person watching. I washed my hands and then I touched my phone, so I'm going to wash my hands again. Oh, I see somebody responded. Hey, Christy. Hello. Thanks for joining. I'm just a couple minutes behind, but that's okay. We're doing a very easy recipe, nothing too crazy. I just don't have it in me to do too much. I was able to share this live stream myself. I just went onto my Facebook on my phone, and then I was able to go into the group and hit share from there. It might depend on a lot of things, whether or not you're able to as well. But I would appreciate it. That would be amazing. Okay. So, yeah, like I said, I'm a little bit behind. I did have a death in the family this week, so that's been very stressful. And I was at that person's house last night going through her stuff, and my mom was like, I've got to get Emily home. She has a live stream tomorrow and she needs to prepare for it. And I was like, no, I don't. Like, I don't have a live stream tomorrow. What are you talking about? And she's like, no, you have a live stream. I'm like, no, I don't. And then I stopped and I'm like, oh, tomorrow's the 18th, isn't it? And she said yes. So anyways, it didn't even occur to me that it was today because it's just been a very, very stressful week. So we're just going to take it easy tonight. I've decided not to actually do something to bake since this is my first live stream bake along anyways. Let's just do something simple. This was ingredients I already had on hand. I have a lot of heavy cream that is unopened, so that's also really fantastic to be able to go through the heavy cream before it expires for me. So I thought this would be a good one. It's very few ingredients, very few ingredients. I did share this. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Christy. It's been a rough week. This was my aunt who was like a second mom to me, so it's been very hard. But yeah, didn't want to cancel my first live stream, so we're gonna get right through it. So I did share the recipe. I will make a better printable version of this recipe. It was just like, I crashed last night on my parents' couch and woke up this morning and I was like, oh my gosh, I still haven't done anything. So I just took a picture of the recipe I have in my book. But I will make a better printable version of this recipe. This is my recipe book. I love it so much. But it is very worn out, I like to handwrite. I don't know how well you guys can actually see what's going on in this book. I like to handwrite my recipes, but this is getting a little bit tattered up. I might have to start moving my recipes over to something else. But making printable versions for you guys is actually helping me to create like secondary copies of everything. Because again, my book is getting very tattered up. Some of these pages are so bad. Look at my chocolate. My chocolate recipe is so bad. It's got cocoa powder all over it. Who knows what else is all over these pages. I'm sure butter and oil and milk and yeah, just all sorts of stuff. Oh shoot, I just lost the page. There we go. So I did share the rich chocolate mousse in the event, or on the event page for this live stream. I did share this recipe. I posted in there, and then when I shared the event again today in the group, the Sugar Rush Squad group, I did put this in the comments. But again, I will make a better printable version of this for you guys. All right, well, let's just go ahead and get started. If you guys have any questions at any point, I'm able to read the questions right here. So I will, be paying attention to that over here and just making sure I'm answering questions. I really have been excited to start these live stream bake-alongs. Originally, it was going to be in a paid subscription, like a baking membership that I was setting up, but after we finished setting up, just realized it wasn't the right route to go, and so I've decided to put the live stream bake-alongs in a free Facebook group. So it's more about hanging out with you guys and building community, and you don't have to pay to learn baking, because baking is a huge passion of mine, and I love talking about it. I wouldn't say I'm like the best, craziest expert out there when it comes to baking, but it is a science and an art, and I do know enough, and I just love talking about it. But I do consider myself a cake artist, a sugar artist, and then a baker. That's like my lowest, in my opinion. And yeah, I used to hate baking. I felt like it was a necessary evil to get to what I actually wanted to do, which was decorating cakes only. I was more of an artist, and I hated baking for so many years. And then eventually I just fell in love with it, and then I accidentally, totally by accident, became a pastry chef through one of my first Food Network shows. I got casted as a sugar artist, so an isomalt expert, which I applied to be a cake artist. I wanted to be a cake artist, and they found out I kind of knew isomalt, and so they casted me, and then right before I flew out, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you're the pastry chef. And I was like, what are you talking about? I had no idea. So anyways, that kind of forced me to learn a lot about baking. And now every Food Network show I've been on, I've been the baker and pastry chef of my team. It's just kind of worked out that way. A lot of times because I've been the sugar artist of my team, but also because even the other times when I wasn't specifically supposed to be the pastry chef, I've been with teammates who didn't know baking, and knew the most out of everybody, which with over 60 food allergies is not easy, but I still have the most experience a lot of times. So anyways, a little background of why I love baking so much. That one freaked me out. Are you talking about like accidentally becoming a pastry chef? Literally, I think it was like 2-3 days before I had to fly out for my second Food Network show, which was Holiday Wars. And they were like, oh yeah, so Emerly, when it comes to the tasting element, this is what you need to know. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a pastry chef. And they're like, oh yeah, typically the sugar artist is also the pastry chef of the team. Doesn't have to be that way, but typically yes. And on that show, I was the sugar artist, and then there's 3 other cake artists, 3 cake artists on my team. And they said, oh, it doesn't have to be you. Like, it can be really anybody, but typically it's the sugar artist. So I turned to my teammates, which you don't pick the teammates. These were complete strangers on my team. And I turned to them in this I think it was a Zoom meeting, but I was like, do you guys know anything about baking? And they were like, no, we use box mix. So they didn't even know how to bake cakes from scratch, let alone like pastries. And on a show like that, you have to know pastries. It's tasting elements. It's not specific to cake. So I was like, oh, I will figure it out. It's been a fun ride. Yeah, it was a total freak out moment. And I remember at one point, one of my teammates, they were like, oh, like we were trying to figure out what flavors go with, I don't remember which flavor we got. It was like a flavor that was assigned to us on one of the episodes. And my teammate was like, oh, just go into the pantry and like put spices together and like see if they smell good together. If they smell cohesive, then they will be like, the taste will be cohesive and they'll go together. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I have the worst sense of smell ever my whole life. Like, I can't smell something hardly at all. It's gotten better. But at the time, I was just like, that's a thing. I can't smell. I have over 60 food allergies, and I'm the pastry chef. It's been fun. Okay, so yeah, we're going to do my rich chocolate mousse. So it's a really delicious recipe. I love making it for my family all the time. My mom actually, when I was like running through recipes trying to figure out what to make tonight, she's like, oh, I want your chocolate mousse, so that's what you're gonna make for your Bakealong, because she is looking forward to benefiting from this. So it's really delicious. It's just like a very basic chocolate mousse made from scratch, and it has very basic ingredients, which is also really fantastic. You don't need weird ingredients to make this happen, and you're not using I like to use like very basic ingredients. So this has heavy cream, it has eggs to thicken it up and to actually create that mousse. We're not using like pudding mix, like that's very common, like pudding mix or whatever else people use to make mousse, like weird ingredients with a lot of like preservatives and other weird ingredients included. So basics. If you guys have seen of what's in this recipe, you can kind of see real quick right here. So it does have semi-sweet chocolate. It has 2 different measurements of heavy cream. It has 4 egg yolks, which will be used to thicken it up. It has a little bit of sugar and a pinch of salt. Salt is always fantastic. Perfect. Okay, so first we're going to start by heating up our chocolate. You do have to multitask a little bit with a recipe like this, just because some things take time to cool down or whatnot. So what I'm going to do is start here by turning on my stovetop. So I'm just using a portable induction stovetop, which is really amazing. I also have a stovetop right over here, but I didn't want to have to like move the camera a bunch, so we're just going to use my portable one right here. If you're not familiar with induction stovetops, they're so fantastic. Induction stovetops actually don't heat up. The stovetop itself doesn't heat up. It works with magnets, so you have to have like a compatible pot that's able to work with the magnets in the stovetop. And basically the magnets are able to move like freaky fast, and all that friction is what causes this to heat up. So it's really great, and it's 50% faster than other stovetops. It's freaky fast. You'll see this will boil here very quickly. I do have like a decent amount of water in there, but should take somewhere around 60 seconds to start boiling, give or take. I can already see bubbles start to form. And even if it's pretty hot, you can still touch the top of your pot. It's not heating up the entire pot, it's heating up the bottom with those magnets. So, highly recommend induction stovetops. They're great. Okay, that's about to heat up. So while that's heating up, I'm just gonna move it over. I meant to grab my scale. Here we go. So first we're going to start by melting the chocolate. So in my post earlier, I did say I don't recommend baking chips. I recommend real chocolate, and that's something that I see people very commonly make that mistake. is that if you use baking chips, it's not great quality. Basically, baking chips, or like the chocolate chips that you would put in your cookies that you bake in the oven, those are not meant to be melted down, and they're not good quality chocolate. They are real chocolate, but it's not good quality. I think the word is they're not conched as much. They're not processed. They're not as highly processed as real chocolate. So it is considered lower quality chocolate, and that is intentionally done. Baking chips are meant to hold their shape in the high heat of the oven. And again, it's a low quality. The taste is just not there. So I can't stand I'll still put baking chips in cookies and other things that I do, but I will never melt it down and have it be like the star of the show, the flavor, if you will, of what I'm doing. So where I'm doing a chocolate mousse, I'm not going to melt down baking chips. It doesn't, to me, like I found out I'm a super taster, and so I can taste things I'm very picky. I'm a very picky eater because I'm a super taster. I think it means you have more taste buds. So I can definitely tell the difference. Yes, so don't use baking chips. They're not meant to be melted down. They're meant to hold their shape in the high heat of your oven. Oh, there goes my water starting to boil. Instead, I'm going to be using, this is Calabo. It does kind of look like baking chips. It's not. This is couverture chocolate. Couverture is real chocolate, and it's more pure chocolate, so it doesn't have a bunch of filler ingredients in it. It's just chocolate, and this is a very good high quality brand that I use. I love the taste of Calabo. There's other good brands out there. Merkins is good, Peters is good, Guittard is good. I can't stand Ghirardelli, but I know like if you go to a grocery store and you're trying to find like couverture chocolate, I believe some grocery stores do carry like Ghirardelli couverture, but you have to make sure you're not getting baking chips, because I think Ghirardelli makes baking chips and they make couverture. I hope that makes sense. This is a lot of information to throw out there. I'm very passionate when it comes to my chocolate, okay? Just making sure there's no questions in the process. I'm very passionate when it comes to my chocolate, so I'm using Calabo, and I believe I'm using the 70%. They do have a few different percentages. The higher the percentage of your chocolate, the darker the chocolate. So typically, I think around 70%, that would be considered semi-sweet, kind of leaning more towards the darker end. And the lower the percentage, the more likely it has like milk and sugar added to it, which we don't need that. We just need real chocolate. We just need the flavor of pure chocolate. So 70% is a pretty high percentage. It's a good percentage. You could get away with like a slightly lower percentage. Yeah, Calabo. Delicious. It's my go-to brand for all chocolate. But Calabo doesn't make baking chips. I go to Costco and just get whatever brand is there. Okay, so we're gonna melt that. My pot is at a rolling boil already. Actually, from a little bit ago. I'm gonna turn down the temperature a little bit because we don't want to burn the chocolate. Chocolate is very sensitive. And if you overheat chocolate, you will actually, you'll get, like let's say you're making ganache. If you overheat your chocolate, even if you put it in a ganache, it's going to break it, and it won't be as silky smooth. So you never want to like crazy overheat it. We have to be very sensitive with our chocolate. So I'm just going to put this on my scale here, and the measurement for the chocolate that we're going to be using is 200 grams. I know it's probably annoying, but I do measure everything in grams for the most part. I don't use measurements in cups and whatnot. That's a very American thing to do, and it's not very accurate whatsoever. You're always going to get different results. If you think about it, there are only 16 ounces in a pound. So that's not a great way to measure because it only breaks it up into 16 increments, whereas there's roughly 454 grams in a pound. So you're able to break it up into like much larger increments. And then cups, like, you never know how accurate that's going to be. This is more for like liquid measurements. When you're measuring dry ingredients like this, it's just not going to be accurate, especially when it comes to flour and sugar, all of that, because it might be more compact or more sifted than other times. So not very good to measure in cups. I highly discourage it. You'll see me do it every now and then, but I generally avoid it. Okay, so we're just going to melt the chocolate and then it can cool down on the side for a little bit. So I do have my water over here. Hopefully you guys can see everything I'm doing good enough. I want you guys to be able to see me talking while also seeing what I'm doing here. So I'm going to be experimenting with these live streams, the best angle to get it all. I think I'm going to turn this down a little bit. No, that's still good. I'm already pretty low on the heat. So you don't want to overheat your chocolate, like I mentioned. It can be very bad for it. So it's always best, if you're heating it, to not heat it directly on the stove top. You want to use a double boiler or a bain-marie, which is what I have here. So I just have a pot of water, and you can see while I was prepping, talking, I just filled up a pot with water, put it on the stovetop and let it heat up on its own, and then it's ready to go. For some reason, double boilers are very intimidating for people. There's some people who get so overwhelmed by it and they're like, no, I refuse to do anything that involves a double boiler. Don't be scared of it. It's really like zero prep work. So you can see my chocolate is being melted down. I just want to make sure, even though I have this at a very low setting, it still seems pretty hot. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm storing my chocolate off to the side a little bit, using the residual heat that's already there, and just kind of dispersing that heat. And then I'll just keep putting it back over the stovetop. And please let me know if you guys have any questions in the process. Even if it's not related to the recipe. Okay, so my chocolate is almost completely melted down. Like I said, it's good to use a darker chocolate here versus a lighter one, because let's say you start with a milk chocolate. Milk chocolate already has sugar and milk added to it, so it's already been watered down. The flavor's already been watered down, but we're going to be adding sugar and heavy cream and eggs, like we're adding stuff to it. So we're going to be watering down that flavor with all these other ingredients to make the mousse. So it's always good to just start with a richer flavor with that darker chocolate. Okay, my chocolate is almost completely melted. Okay, and perfect. We have nice melted chocolate. Now we're gonna multitask here and work on some other elements that we have. So I'm going to continue to simmer my water. Now I'm just going to whip up some of my heavy cream. I do have 2 measurements of heavy cream. So I'm just going to take my KitchenAid bowl. It has stuff in it. Okay. I'm just going to use a KitchenAid bowl to do this. I don't have a hand whisk, but you could do it with a hand whisk too. And this is going to be 375 milliliters actually. So milliliters, I am going to use a measurement like this. I don't know why I put this on the scale. Don't worry about that. Okay, and then I'm just going to measure that 375. Okay, so this is just heavy cream. So I'm gonna whip this up and then put it in the fridge for a little bit while we're working on other stuff. Heavy cream is best to stay cold. You'll have an easier time whipping it up if it's very cold. So I just pulled this out of the fridge not too long ago. Okay. I'm just gonna bring the KitchenAid forward here, maybe turn it a little bit so you guys can see. I'm going to use a whisk attachment here. Sorry, I see foreign debris in this. Don't know where that came from. Where did that go? There we go. Okay. Okay, then I'm just going to place this in, and I'm just going to whisk this up to stiff peak, so I'm just going to turn it all the way up. It doesn't take very long to whisk up heavy cream, it's super quick and easy. You don't want to over whisk it, so once it starts to thicken up, I'm going to stop it. If you keep the heavy cream going and you keep whisking it, I believe that's how you make butter. It'll start to ruin, it won't have like the silky smooth texture of heavy cream or whipped cream. It'll start to turn like kind of a weird texture, and it basically starts turning into butter. So don't do that. Okay, we're just going to let that go for a second, and I need to supervise this so I don't over whisk it. Now I'm going to measure out other ingredients. Other ingredients. So my yolks, my sugar, and some other heavy cream. Again, there's 2 measurements there. I'm going to put that all into this bowl. And I like to use a wine bowl just so that it's easier to kind of mix it in there. Okay. So we're going to do 60 milliliters of heavy cream to do it. Hopefully you guys can hear me over the whisking enough. So I have that. I have 20 grams of sugar right here. Well, this is 20 grams. I'm going to measure out 20 grams of sugar. So this will just add some sweetness to my mousse. And then we're going to do 4 egg yolks. So I've got my eggs here. I'm just going to crack these real quick. So I like to do a 3-fold method to separate my egg yolks from my egg white. So I'm just going to crack my egg into 1 bowl. And then I'm just going to move my yolk over to another bowl. Method is best when you're doing, when you're trying to get egg whites to not have any yolks in them. It's also really great to check for foreign, it's also best to do it in a smaller bowl before putting your eggs directly into a bigger bowl, so that if there's any tiny little pieces of eggshell that gets in there, you can see it easier, and then you're able to fish it out. Okay, this is egg number 3. I've got to do 4 of these. I don't know if anyone is actually following along and doing this at the same time, but if you are, just let me know if I need to pause. So the egg yolks, here we go. Okay. The egg yolks is actually going to be what thickens our mousse. This is very similar to when you make a curd. So a lot of times, well, every time you make a curd, there's going to be sometimes whole eggs, but there's always going to be egg yolks in there. It's the yolks that really sets your curd, and this is kind of a similar base to a curd. We have some sugar, we have a liquid in there, that's a heavy cream, typically that's a juice when you're making curd, and then you have egg yolks, sometimes whole eggs as well. It's always good to clean up as you go as well, especially when you're working with raw eggs. Okay, let me check this. Okay, I think my heavy cream is a good consistency. So I have a good consistency of whipped cream. That was just the heavy cream. So this is in my metal bowl. I'm just going to put this in the fridge for now so that it stays cold. We do want it to stay cold. We'll come back for that very soon. Okay, just move some stuff around. Okay, we're gonna come back to the simmering pot. This recipe is very easy, but you do have to bounce around a little bit. So now I have my pot here, and I'm gonna take a whisk, and I'm just going to whisk all of these ingredients together. So again, this is my yolks, my sugar, and my heavy cream. I'm actually going to add the salt now. I believe it says add it later, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it says fold in salt at the end. Who cares? We'll just add it now. So just a pinch of salt. So now I have this mixture here in my metal bowl. We're going to do a double boiler here as well. And you just want to be really careful not to start at a super high heat because you do have egg yolks in here. So it's good to pre-mix your ingredients together. You could see that I whisked it on the side in my bowl first before I set it on the double boiler, because if you just had your egg yolks, let's say your egg yolks wasn't mixed in, and then you put it on your stove top at a high heat, you're going to cook those eggs. You're going to scramble your eggs. And then it's not going to be so pleasant in your mousse to have little tiny cooked egg bits in there. It has happened to me where I've accidentally scrambled my eggs in my curd, so it's something that you just have to be really careful about. So I did pre-whisk it on the side, and then I started at a low heat, and I'm just going to turn up my heat. I do want this to get nice, hot, and thick. The egg yolks are going to start to thicken up in this mixture, and we want that. That's going to be a nice, thick base for our mousse, and that's what's setting it. And then I like to use a wide bowl so that it's easier to kind of whisk it here. I have room to whisk my mixture. I can see it's already starting to thicken up. You just have to have a little bit of patience. If you're doing a large batch, this would take forever. Just one single batch is going to go pretty quick. So usually with a curd, you're going to see your mixture start to get kind of frothy, foamy, and then it's going to kind of thicken up after that even more. So this is really starting to thicken up. We're going to keep going. You want to make sure that the eggs in here are getting thoroughly cooked, just so that it's not a safety hazard. It's always good. Okay. And then I just want to make sure I'm scraping the edges of my bowl and making sure that everything is getting thoroughly cooked there. Sometimes with curds, it depends on the recipe. I have several different recipes for curds. I have one curd recipe that I use as a filling in my cakes. And then I have another curd recipe that is specifically a filling in my lemon passion fruit tarts. And that one is a slightly different recipe because it has to be baked in the oven as well. And it has to set in the oven. So it gets cooked and it gets baked. But anyway, so it depends on the recipe. Some of them, it does say to use a thermometer and make sure that your eggs reaches at least 60 to 70 degrees Celsius, which means that it is thoroughly cooked and safe to eat. But I just go off of visual cues. So I know when it gets really thick here, that it is definitely at the right temperature, or it's at least reached that temperature. So I just look for visual cues. And like I said earlier, for anyone who missed that, this is a rich chocolate mousse that we're making, but it shares similar traits to curds, where you cook your egg yolks with a liquid and some sugar, and it thickens up really well. So you can see visually, hopefully, just how thick this has become. Before it fell right off my whisk and nothing was sticking to the whisk, and now I have this mixture that is just not coming off the whisk. That's a good thing. That means it's really thick. That means that it has cooked to the proper temperature, and that's just from experience. I know that once it gets here, it's definitely hit at least 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. I like to be extra thorough, so I'm just going to keep this cooking just a second longer. And I'm losing my pot all over this induction burner. Okay, now it's more like a thick paste. That is amazing. That's what we love to see. Okay, so I'm just going to move this over. And I don't need my stovetop anymore. Okay, so now I'm gonna mix my melted chocolate that's been sitting on the side. It's still nice and melty. You can see that. So now I'm gonna mix this all together. It's a little bit weird, but I'm just gonna add my melted chocolate right into this cooked egg mixture. And I don't like to waste, so I'm just going to make sure I'm very thoroughly scraping down my bowl. I wish I could play music in the background. I have music in my ears, but I wish I could play music in the background, but I did a live stream like a week ago, and I had very quiet music in the background. But Facebook stopped my live stream and said, we recognize copyright music in your video, so we had to stop it and people won't be able to watch it anymore, which kind of made me sad, but it is what it is, so I can't risk my live stream being turned off, so I don't have any background music. I don't think you guys would like my music anyways. Okay. So now I have my chocolate with my cooked egg yolk, heavy cream, sugar, salt mixture. And I'm just gonna whisk this all together. And now I have a nice thick chocolate mixture. I'm just gonna make sure I'm very thorough here. Beautiful. So that chocolate was melted down. When the chocolate starts to cool down and reset, that's also going to be what thickens this mousse and makes it that like nice thick consistency. And I love that. Okay, I'm just going to clean off this whisk. I'm making a mess, don't mind me. Okay, So now I have this lovely mixture. I do need to let this cool slightly, so I'm just going to continue to stir it. By stirring it, mixing it around, it'll help it to cool faster because I'm kind of folding air into it, and that's just going to cool down. So we're going to keep doing that because we don't want this mixture to be super overly hot when we add our nice cold whipped cream into it. This is almost like a brownie texture, like brownie batter. Love that. I almost want to eat it just the way it is, but I don't think it'd be that great. Okay, it's perfect. This is all coming together. Beautiful. Okay, I think it should be cooled down enough. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't feel a lot of heat coming off of that. Okay, so we're bringing back out our whipped cream. If anyone missed that. Okay, if anyone missed that, I just had heavy cream, my first measurement, in a KitchenAid bowl, and I've already pre-whisked this. And then I just set it in the fridge so it can stay nice and cold while we make everything else. Let's put that off to the side. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna just fold a little bit of heavy cream in at a time so that it's able to fully come together, because this chocolate mixture is pretty thick, and then I have like my nice fluffy whipped cream. So if I try to fold it in all at the same time, it's gonna have a hard time mixing in together. So I do have just a little bit of heavy cream in there, and I'm just gonna very gently fold that in. Just make sure this is all nicely incorporated. It's not looking great right now, but it'll get better. For anyone that joined recently, you are able to watch the replay of this video. It will be saved on the Facebook group Sugar Rush Squad Cake and Baking Community. So you are able to go back over this and re-watch it if you want to try to make this recipe for yourself. And I will make a better printable version of this recipe. It's just been very rough, very interesting week for me. So I did not stay on top of things like I was hoping. Okay. So I'm just going to add a bit more of that whipped cream into there, and I'm just going to fold this gently in. You can see it looks really funky at first. My mom's going to be so excited. She loves this chocolate mousse. Okay. So that's starting to really come together nicely. Okay. That chocolate is really starting to lighten up as well. Starting to lighten in color with all the other added ingredients. Okay, and now I'm going to add the rest of my heavy cream. or my whipped cream. There we go. Okay, so after this, I think I am going to make chantilly cream, which is very quick and easy. I don't have a specific recipe for that. I always just eyeball it, but I think it pairs really nicely. I love making chantilly cream. Okay, so this mousse is almost done. And I'm being very careful and mindful to scrape the bowl, just so I have all the whipped cream incorporated in, and I don't have thick pieces of, or I don't have some of that chocolate, original chocolate mixture. I want to make sure that's thoroughly mixed in too. So I'm scraping to the bowl to make sure it is all one consistency, all one color. So close, so close. Okay, that is beautiful. That is a beautiful chocolate mousse. So this is really fantastic. I like to put them in shooters usually. I don't think I'm going to do that today, but typically when I have like family parties, I get together with my family a lot, and I like to make this chocolate mousse a lot. I like to put it into like individual shooters. So I'll show you guys what I mean. I bought these at a TJ Maxx years ago. They're called mini zombie glasses. Like, look how cute those are. So I have 2 boxes of these. They were on sale. I got them for $5.50 each. So between the 2 boxes, I have 24 of these little shooter glasses. And I just love to, what I do is I take the mousse, I'll put it in a piping bag, and I'll pipe it individually into these shooters. And then I usually do like a little dollop of chantilly cream on top, and maybe like sprinkle like chocolate sprinkles on top, or chocolate shavings, something like that. And it's basically like a chocolate mousse, I don't know what you call it, besides a shooter. I don't know, they're fun. It's almost like eating a chocolate silk pie, but without the pie crust. Or French silk, like a French silk pie. Okay, let me get a bowl to put this in. Because this does need to sit in the fridge for a little bit. I usually put it in that. I think I'm putting it in this glass bowl just to be a little bit fancier. I'm gonna wash this real quick. Okay, just gonna dry this real quick. Okay, I think it'll look really nice in this bowl, and this should fill most of it. while still leaving some room for chantilly cream. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. This way people can just kind of scoop it right out of the bowl, kind of like what you would do with chocolate pudding, and this is very similar to chocolate pudding. Gonna make this somewhat presentable looking. Of course, as a cake decorator, instead of using a big old spoon like a normal person, I've got to use my offset spatula. I've never tried to put it in a bowl like this. I think I've only ever done the little glass shooters for this mousse, but that's okay. Okay. So now I have this beautiful chocolate mousse. I'm going to put this in the fridge, make chantilly cream, and then we'll put a layer of that on top. See if I have another bowl. I don't know if I do. Okay, all my KitchenAid bowls are dirty. I'm going to clean this real quick because it did get some of the chocolate in there. So this mousse does say to chill for several hours or overnight. It's always best to make it ahead of time. Not that you couldn't eat it right away, but it's just, it'll have time to thicken up more if you just let it chill for a couple hours, and it'll be more of that like rich but velvety, smooth, thick mousse. I'll probably end up eating this right away because I need a sweet treat, and so does my mom. So I'm gonna let her enjoy this very soon. Okay. Okay, chantilly cream. Super quick, super easy. I do it as a topper for so many things. It's basically like whipped cream, but it has sugar added to it. And I don't have any exact measurements. So I usually just eyeball it. So I probably did like, I don't know, maybe 1 to 2 cups of heavy cream. It's going to thicken up. When you whisk it up, it's going to expand and become more. Actually, I'll do just a little bit more. I just want something to top that bowl so there's like a nice layer of heavy cream. I'm also trying to use up this container of heavy cream because I have nothing else to use it on right now. And it doesn't expire right away, but I want to use it before it expires. I don't like wasting ingredients. Okay. Hey, honey. Hello. Nice to see that you've joined, Barbie. Okay, so I'm gonna whisk up more heavy cream. Again, I just eyeballed it, maybe like 1 to 2 cups of heavy cream. Putting it in my KitchenAid with the whisk attachment, and I'm just gonna whisk it up. And in the process of whisking it, I have some sugar here. I'm just gonna sprinkle some sugar, and then I'm gonna add some vanilla to it. Give that a second. I don't like to dump it in at the beginning, but I have some sugar in this cup. I'm not going to use all of it. That was probably too much. I used to doing more. Yeah, I probably overdid with that sugar. It's good to add it at the beginning, even though this is like grainy, granulated sugar. It'll dissolve. Especially if you add it at the beginning, it has time to kind of dissolve into your heavy cream, so I don't notice any dirty texture at all. I'll just add more heavy cream because I think I added too much sugar. That was maybe like a fourth of a cup, a third of a cup of sugar. Again, I've always measured with my heart. I have never had a recipe for this, but it's just basically whipped cream with sugar. I could be wrong. I think that's all that translates to me. And then, oh, I have another thing I'm going to top this with. So I like to use these. Sometimes I do, you know what, I do have chocolate shavings. This reminds me of like a chocolate silk pie. So I do like to do chocolate shavings. So I actually go and like buy chocolate shavings that are already made. Instead of like doing it myself. But I don't have regular chocolate shavings. I have white chocolate shavings that I can always add on top. So that's always a good option, because last time I went to go restock, we only had white chocolate option. I also sometimes like to use these sprinkles, if you can see that okay. So these are chocolate sprinkles, but they're real Frobisher chocolate sprinkles. So these are actually tempered. I don't know what the brand is. I do buy this it's called Baker's Cacciatore in Marie, Utah. Baker's Cacciatore does ship everywhere, but they sell these chocolate decapes, is what they're called. And yeah, they're tempered, real chocolate tempered Frobisher sprinkles. Okay, so this is all whisked up. I'm just going to add a dash of vanilla extract to sweeten it a bit with some flavor. Perfect. And then I like to do vanilla bean paste because I'm extra and it's expensive, but I don't care. Measure that with your heart. Okay. So I do vanilla extract and vanilla bean paste. That's just my personal preference. And then I'm going to test this. I am lactose intolerant and I do not care. It's beautiful. It's just vanilla whipped cream. It's so good. I'm gonna add a bit more vanilla bean paste. I want to see more of that vanilla specks in there. Okay, so that should be good. We're going to take this off. And then, quick way to clean off your whisk. And I'm just going to add this right on top of my mousse. I might have made too much, but I don't care. Oh, shoot. There's water dripping off the bowl. And then I'll just nicely spread this out. Way too much heavy cream, but that's okay. I'm very chaotic in the kitchen, but hey, I get decent results. I'm gonna add some little wafts on top. Clean this up a touch. This is just going to my family upstairs, so doesn't need to be too pretty. But I'm just going to add some sprinkle on top. And I don't feel like doing a whole lot more. I love these sprinkles, so I do like to do a decent amount. But I don't feel like piping any design or anything. And this is how you make a very simple rich chocolate mousse with a layer of chantilly cream. And I put it in a bowl like you would with pudding. I don't know if your family has done that, but all growing up, my mom would just make one big old bowl of pudding. So I'm gonna go enjoy this, but it is best to chill for several hours or overnight for the best consistency, and it's best served cold, very delicious that way, and it just gives time for that chocolate to really cool down and completely set. But it's not terrible to eat it right away. Thanks for joining the live stream. Let me know if you guys have any questions. But yeah, that's what I have. I'm gonna start doing live stream bake-alongs once a month. So these are gonna stay free. This is just gonna be for my Sugar Rush Squad Facebook group as like a thank you for being in my Facebook group. And I'm hoping to do more posts, more sharing, and just kind of building a community there. I've had a rough start. I was doing really well like the first week or so, but then I had like a photo shoot and I had a bridal expo on Tuesday, and then my aunt passed away Wednesday morning. So it's been an interesting week, and I have not been totally on board, or I haven't been totally on top of the Facebook group, but that's okay. We will just keep working on it. But I will be doing one free live stream bake-along every month, and it should actually be baked goods. But like I said, rough week, and I forgot I had the live stream today. My mom had to remind me, so we just decided, or I was talking to my mom and I was like, well, I still want to do the live stream. This is last night. I was like, I still want to do it, but I forgot about it. And she's like, oh, it's okay. Like, don't be too stressed out about it. Don't worry about it. So we were talking over like what recipes. I wasn't even home. I couldn't even look at my recipe book, nothing. And I was like, what's in my book that's really quick and easy, that would be easy to pull off? And I was like, oh, my chocolate mousse. This is really good for like cake filling or on its own, or you can even put it in like a pâte à sucre, like a sweet dough, like a tart. It's very delicious. And my mom was like, yes, because I want to eat it. So decided not to do an actual baked good today. But this was still an hour-long live stream, even just to make the chocolate mousse and the chantilly cream. Great demo. Thank you. Looks like you're the only one still on. But if anyone watches the replay, I will be at SoFlo Cake and Candy Expo in April. I'm doing the social media and TV stage, so it's going to be really exciting. And I'm putting together an installation, which is an edible installation. So it's basically going to be a photo booth backdrop with edible material. And it's going to be fun and exciting. And hopefully I pull it all off. And what else I have going on? I'm about to launch a website. I've been trying to work on that. But basically I am going to be launching like a paid membership that is going to be more for cake decorating. The baking, I'm just doing the baking and stuff for free because I enjoy it. But I'm going to be doing a paid membership. There's going to be multiple tiers to it. So there's going to be like you can get a cake recipe every month, and the next tier, well, there's a lot more in these tiers, but kind of the gist of it is the first tier is going to be very cheap and affordable, and basically like you get a cake recipe every month and discounts and stuff like that. And then there's going to be a second tier, and I will be doing a live stream cake along, which is different from my bake along. I'm going to do a live stream cake along, so that free cake recipe you get every month, I'll do a live stream where like I walk you through the cake recipe process, just because a lot of people are very intimidated by learning how to bake from scratch. It's not terrible. It just takes practice. And then in the highest tier, I will start putting out my 3D cake masterclass, my wedding cake masterclass. These are typically, I've been teaching my wedding cake masterclass especially for the last, gosh, I think 4 or 5 years. And that is usually a 5-day masterclass that I teach in my kitchen, where I only take 3 students at a time. And I've been teaching it regularly for years. And now I'm finally putting it online, and I'm putting out my 3D cake masterclass. It has my cupcake masterclass already on there, and then I'm just gonna keep adding to it. So it's just gonna be basically a whole bunch of tutorials that you guys will be able to access that will involve some baking, mostly cake baking, but it will involve a lot of tutorials and like learning how to do things way more in depth and really learn how to master things. It's basically going to be like an online confectionery art school, which is how I learned. I went to a confectionery art school in Canada that no longer exists, and there's nothing out there like it anymore. So I kind of want to fill that void. Not saying that there's not already tutorials online, but the method in which I learned and the method that I like to teach is different. So anyways, okay. Well, I'm gonna go. Thank you guys so much. And, hopefully you guys make your own and you can enjoy it too. Thanks, bye.